Welcome to Sales Momentum, the podcast designed to fuel your growth and accelerate your success in sales. I'm Howard Wolpoff, your host and guide through the ever-evolving world of sales. Selling isn't just about closing deals. It's about strategy, relationships, and continuous improvement. In each episode, we will bring you expert insights, proven techniques, and real-world experiences from top sales professionals. Whether you're a seasoned closer or just getting started, this podcast will help you sharpen your skills, build momentum, and hit your targets with confidence. Let's dive in and take your sales game to the next level. Welcome back to Sales Momentum. I'm Howard Wolpoff, your host, and we're here to talk about sales and the sales industry and the experiences of people who've really lived through sales in multiple aspects of their career. And I have a very interesting guest today, so I'm very excited about what he's doing now, but overall his career, and we're going to go through that with him. His name is Kevin McLenithan. He's the Vice President of Sales of RevScale AI. And Kevin, welcome to our conversation today.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, Howard.
Well, I'm excited to hear about your career because we were talking just before, and what you're doing right now with RevScale is insane. Just everything going on with AI. A lot of people are very they've rolled up their sleeves. They're using AI on a regular basis. Some people are afraid and aren't using it at all. But you really have a lot of different solutions for companies to help them with their sales, with their revenue, with their operations that you are marketing and selling on a daily basis.
Absolutely, yes. We have a variety of different entry points. We like to say that not only are we industry agnostic, but we can work within just about any budget. And again, our goal is to absolutely get the AI out there that is going to, take the lift off your plate. And that's where we're getting, the most significant traction is being able to solve problems for our clients in that way.
Now, it's interesting that you're saying it's solving problems, but you're really creating a lot of solutions to deal with just, I guess, a way that people interact, and that's pretty constant with all their clients. You have different ways to communicate and help the different processes. So how are some of your clients utilizing this AI to their benefit and their clients' benefit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I should probably start by saying that we have a very heavy focus in the franchise space. And what we're saying is, we can help at the franchisor level all the way down to the franchisee level. We're helping with things like franchise development, otherwise known as FranDev, finding new franchisees to fill spots within the organization. And then at the franchisee level, whether it's B2B or B2C, we probably get the most attention on our ability to give them, extend them the offering of an outbound agent or even an inbound agent that is able to pre-qualify leads as they come in. Growth is huge, as I'm sure you know. I mean, being able to, grow your franchisee location in your territory, obviously heavily sought after, and we work with, varying experience. We have multi-unit owners, we have, single unit owners, and everything in between. At the franchisor level, again, we have a variety of different sizes of, clients that are really looking to have custom builds done where they're, let's just say, beholden to a certain legacy software that they want to, get rid of or replace. We can actually come in and we can do a full scope on that and be able to start developing that new platform for them in a very, significantly shorter period of time at a significantly cheaper cost.
Well, it's great that you have these opportunities for them. Franchises in general is a big business, and
Yes.
And trying to find the next right person to run a franchise. I know I get messages on LinkedIn all the time asking if I want to be a franchise owner. So they're digging deep to find them. So being able to facilitate that, being able to help the process of those franchisees. Making life easier as they're embarking and continuing in this new place in their career, AI can be really a game changer for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yes, it is definitely, I mean, the space is, I don't want to say, that it's fully, taken up with a lot of a lot of people injecting, their requests for, hey, come learn about this franchise and come learn about this. I mean, there's FSOs, there's consultants, there's advisors, there's a lot of, it's a heavy space, shall we say, but really being able to help these franchisors do things internally and not have to, pay a more extensive cost, shall we say, off each one of those franchisees they're able to bring in is very, very attractive.
Let's just say to the listener that if you've written a report or an email or a LinkedIn post on ChatGPT, that's just a starting point. There are many, many ways that AI is that are being implemented into businesses, and you may not realize whether through an email, through a messaging on LinkedIn, through speaking to someone on the phone, that you're dealing with AI and not a human on the other end. So this is the world we're walking into, and we have been doing for the last X number of years. But ready for your eyes to be opened even more day by day. How's that
Absolutely. Very,
translation?
very true statement. Very true statement. Yes. We get in that discussion. I actually just got back from a conference, and it's always interesting to, pose the question to the crowd as to, what is your level of utilization with AI? And we'll have, all the hands go up. Oh, I use ChatGPT every day. What, the disconnect we find is that there's so much more to just, punching questions into, one of these LLMs. We are actually focused on an SLM, which is a specialized or small language model that really is, the core of what we do, in the sense that we're not needing to train it on everything in the world. We want to train it on specific business functions and be able to, again, replicate these processes and condense them and make these journeys much more seamless, not only internally, but also externally.
Yeah, it's amazing. My favorite part with ChatGPT, I have a friend that does this for his LinkedIn posts on the graphic design the angle that they have. He has his face imported in, and every scenario that he describes, he is put into that scenario. So if he needs to talking about too many cooks in the kitchen, he's going to be one of the cooks that's in the kitchen, and embarking on a journey. He might be a Viking warrior on a boat. It is incredible with the different aspects that AI has put him in, and he gets a lot of attention for that.
It's funny you bring that up because avatars is probably one of our top requests. Like we'll have CEOs or we'll have, the CSO come to us and say, I want to be the avatar. I want to conduct all these trainings, put the words into my mouth and put me on the screen. And that's definitely something that we can help out with and definitely facilitate.
Yeah, that could be very helpful, and definitely put them in that leadership role, and be there on a regular basis when someone just clicks on the link to play that information. But
Absolutely.
eh, let's step away from the technology and AI for the moment, because when
Yeah.
you start your career, there wasn't this type of technology going on. Not to really age you that much, but something because a lot of this is new technology. But tell me about your entry into sales, about that first sales job that you were hired to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's funny, I mean, you bring up a very good point. I look back at my previous career and having the technology I do now and saying, wow, it could have been so much more effective back in that those early career stages if I had these tools at my fingertips. But yeah, coming straight out of the Navy after 14 years, I really knew that I was an extrovert and I wanted to, I wanted to I wanted to control my own destinies to some degree. And financial services happened to be the draw for me. I really felt like there was still some mystery there and I want to learn more about it and also help people that were in a similar situation to myself. So I actually interviewed with a very large organization, Morgan Stanley, and I went through that interview process. It was the first job I interviewed for out of the Navy, as a matter of fact, and I got the role. And once I got the role, I kind of realized, hey, I really have a lot to learn. You obviously have to go through and get your certification, your testing, your Series 7, etc. And once I got done with that, it was, okay, now I need to start selling. I absolutely need to start finding my network that I can definitely leverage to make sales. And that's a tough road to climb, especially when you find yourself as, removed. I was geographically removed from my hometown, I guess you could say, back in California. I did have a network here. I had a lot of friends, especially in the Navy. most of them were overseas. They were going back on their next deployment. So that made it difficult. And so my branch manager came to us all out of the 15 people in my class that were there in the Tampa branch and said, hey, cold calling, you can build a business cold calling. So I took that, I took that very seriously, and I set goals for myself. I was going to call 500 names every single day. And I did that for 2 months straight. When I say 500, I mean exactly 500. And it was a process because it wasn't just picking up the phone and dialing. It was actually, I had to, run all of those names, all those numbers through the do not call list. And yeah, my day usually started about 6:30. By 8 o'clock, I was ready to start dialing after, removing the names that I didn't need. And I would go down that list of 500 names until I was done. I would not leave, period. So it was definitely yeah, I mean, it was a hustle. It was definitely challenging, and I had some small successes in that. I think that I changed my script probably 10, 15 times throughout that process. Had a few wins, but really the whole point of that drill for me was showing my management that I was there to stay. I was committed to this in any way, shape, or form. And at the end of it, it was very funny because my branch manager came to me and said, hey, okay, I know I said you can build off build a book off of cold calling. Not necessarily the case anymore these days. I mean, there's so many people screening their calls, but they did end up giving me another opportunity. And I was able to definitely excel in that new opportunity and actually made my way back into that office about 4 years after that. So it was a very, very big win for me, a comeback, if you will.
There's a lot of great things to unpack here. So I looked down as you were doing that and pulled up the calculator. Like if you're doing an 8 hour day, that's 62 and a half calls an hour in 8 hours. So obviously you were not doing an 8 hour day to accomplish that. And that shows a lot of dedication. I think it shows a lot about your military training and background to be that focused to do it. Because anyone that's listening or watching who's done cold calling, it can be you need that distraction because whether it's the disappointment because no one picked up the phone and yet you leave yet another message, or you did speak to someone and they weren't interested. It's having that thick skin and say, okay, take a deep breath, keep going to the next one. And not everyone can do that to get 100 calls in during the day, much less 500 calls in during a day. And that is incredible. Definitely a major accomplishment that you achieve. But you also mentioned the script. And I
Yeah.
think that a script can be a dirty word sometimes because we've all been on the
And
call with the call center trying to sell you this lotion, this potion, this service, and they're reading from a script and they sound very robotic and turning the page and you know that they don't there's no passion in what they're doing.
yep.
But if you have a script that you understand and you're familiar with and you practice and you kind of you're utilizing it, but you're also ad-libbing in the process. So it's a conversation. But there are key pieces in a script that actually will be your door opener that you know everyone's gonna laugh and respond to, so that they'll continue with the next part of the pitch that you're doing, and it allows you to frame the whole call. Then they are a game changer. You can be very successful in utilizing it.
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I used to cringe at that word script. For management purposes, it was a script and they had to approve it and give me their inputs. When it came to the call, it was much more of a template. I needed to hit these check marks, these bullets. And yes, those first calls, very much like what you're saying. I was definitely probably very robotic and not, not very involved or engaged in the actual conversation. But I did learn over time that, hey, I can have fun with this. I can show more personality, and that lesson alone has served me very, very well, especially to where I'm at today.
Yeah, I will sit with clients for a while. Okay, we can practice. We're going to go through role playing with the script, and I'll throw different curves at you so you know how to handle them. But you need to sit there in a mirror and in recording yourself. You need to practice this because you don't want to sound like you're reading from it ever. But
Exactly.
it is your best friend in getting people to respond to you and setting up that meeting, which is the goal.
Yep. 100%. 100%. And I still take, I don't screen my calls too much. So I get a lot of cold calls. And I get a lot that are actually competitors of my current company, and I'll still hear them out and listen to what, what their process entails and what their style is like. And yeah, you can always, I'm always trying to learn new ways to approach people and to communicate and to relate to people. So I definitely like to have those opportunities where I can see how other people are doing it, and maybe take some of those skills on myself.
Yeah, I think that's the key in anything. Like I've always learned from someone a number of years ago that really there's a floor but no ceiling when it comes to learning. You can keep on learning, and there are people who are learning in their 80s and 90s, taking classes and absorbing books and information. So you can learn a lot from just listening to your competitor, and it really helps you now. Now, when you're talking about the comparisons, you know what their focus and pitch is. You may not have the specifics, but it does give you some detail of how to talk about what's out there if your prospect is asking questions. Oh, and I spoke to this competitor, and you happen to spoken to them as well.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. And I'm, again, always learning. I think that's something that has definitely helped me become successful. 100%. I always want to learn. I'm always gonna, find the new ways to do things. I engage on social media, and I definitely listen to, these very famous people that are in sales that have some, have had some successes, and try to take the key traits that I think, and that the tonality, verbiage, what I can take and make it my own, and then again try to use it in my job on a day in day out basis.
So, how much of a change was it in mindset and in daily focus when going from making 500 phone calls a day to being in leadership roles that you've had since that opportunity with Morgan Stanley, and how you interact with your team and try to help them be the better salespeople themselves?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to that, I don't want to use myself as the bar, but I do look back at how I was and how hungry I was, not just to, close sales, but hungry to make a name for myself, to prove that I could do it. And I try to find the people that have that same desire, that have that true hunger, that are willing to learn, and that really truly want to, again, not just make a name for themselves, but also just to grow, period. And being able to identify those people and then obviously help them reach their potential is really where I feel like my focus is.
I could just imagine the thought process in one of those. Some you have to have those conversations with people who are not achieving, and they're like, you look,
Yes.
yeah, you did for 30 phone calls this week, and you're looking back at 500 you've done a day. The measuring how to address that with the salesperson on their achievements for the past week.
It does feel kind of like a rite of passage, but again, I mean, to each their own. And I want to leave open the ability that maybe somebody has a different process. So maybe somebody does something better than I did, and so if that's where they excel, absolutely. But again, coming to the table and making sure that you were doing everything in your power to deliver that success, those successes, is really really what I look for. 100%.
So in developing your team now, was there a specific, other than just seeing that spark, that drive, is there something else that you're looking for when trying to put this team together?
Well, in most of the teams that I've operated with, it's really, it's a combination of things. I look at being a team leader as really being able to provide the resources needed for them to be successful. And once I have a good basis, and once I've seen that there is a good basis for them to develop, then again I can actually talk to them. I can relate to them at their level. I can incentivize them the right way, and be able to again deliver those resources so that we can all be more successful as a team. I try not to put too much of that self promotion out there, but realistically, I really base my value as a team lead on what my people are able to create and what they're able to achieve. Period.
Well, it's good to develop that focus and mindset as a leader, but also that you're developing relationships the same way they're developing relationships with the clients. A lot of
Yes.
leading a sales team is about relationships. I think we all have stories about the sales director that micromanaged, was focused on things other than my well-being as a salesperson, my
Yes.
growth as a salesperson, and you have to make that decision to trudge on through, or maybe you find somewhere else where there's a better situation for you. And that puts a lot of pressure on the sales leader that knows that cares, that has that
Yes.
concern, as opposed to the one that is just focused on themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, it's really there definitely is a strong segue between the relationship you're trying to build with clients and the relationship you want to build with your team, right? Authenticity is again at the top of that list as far as being authentic with my people, being very real with them, making sure that communication is, open both ways, and that, we are all operating from the same hymnal, so to speak. It's really how I approach my relationship with my clients. I mean, I look at them and I say, hey, look, what value can I provide to you? I want you to know this is me. This is not some facade. And this is this is where I see us being able to thrive together in this partnership. And really, again, that's very similar to how, I operate with my team.
A lot of people will have an aha moments like, yeah, I got this. I figured this out. This is what I should be doing. Or you learn it from the negative. As my aha moment was the negative of what not to do in a situation. You learn from it, and then you develop from there. And but did you have a moment like that that really struck you and said, okay, I'm on the right track?
Both ways. Yeah, absolutely. I had the negative aha moment going, wow, can't do that. Really, definitely can't do that anymore. And that was probably in the first 5 years of sales. So that negative aha moment was, hey, you know what? I'm zipping through these phone calls, not trying to make a relationship, build something that's long lasting. And I had that feedback almost directly given to me by one of the prospects that I was working with. And it was like, hey, you are like a robot trying to get to the sale, and you're not trying to build anything. You're not creating that value. That was definitely eye opener for me. And then the aha moment that followed, probably, I want to say within the next year after that negative one, was just that, I had such good feedback from some of the clients to where I had moved from one job to the next, and that relationship followed me, and it was where we stayed in touch and was like, gosh. And it just, again, it wasn't just one client, it was many clients that I had developed that relationship. I'd really delivered that value, and it wasn't just, hey, we have a work relationship. It was, hey, how are your kids doing? What's going on with this, A, B, C, D? And it's been very nice. That's one of the most rewarding things, if not the most rewarding, is being able to carry those relationships on in perpetuity.
Yeah, making that relationship, making that connection is important. For me, I was in a customer service role. We just launched this huge sports complex in New York, and the members that joined beforehand had a 10-day window to cancel, where gyms nationwide, you have a 3-day window to cancel.
Yeah.
So it's about day 20, and these two women they figured out it was more of a challenge to get to the location than it was, and they were on a quest. They were going to get canceled. They're going to cancel membership no matter what. And they came at me, and they when they went to round three of the same thing, as I was 24 years old, 25, I rolled my eyes. Just subtly, and they went nuts. And they had every right to do it because I broke
Yep.
from trying to keep on a relationship level to being frustrated and they didn't cancel. I gave them I gave them something to make
Yes.
them happy, which I wouldn't have had I not rolled my eyes. But I learned a lot from that moment. I tell that story to this day.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's absolutely great.
Yeah, because customer service is going to be a strong piece to all of this. Even if you're a salesperson who sells and makes a contract and passes it off. At some point, if there's a renewal in the process, you're going to get back involved directly in that negotiation. So having a relationship that doesn't exist once a year, but then kind of continues along the way, really makes those negotiations a lot easier. And if there's trouble along the way, you're able to help out and be their advocate to make sure that they're happy with the overall experience with the company. And that also keeps them coming and signing back over and over.
Absolutely. And staying on top of that knowledge base, whether they're working with a success person, more often than they're communicating with you, I always want to make sure that I understand the developments on their account, because very rarely, I think we can both agree, is there this, amazing customer journey where they stay on forever and there's no issues. There's going to be issues. And it's really how you respond to those issues and how you meet their needs when the cards are down, so to speak, right? Or the chips are down. I want to be able to go insert myself and say, hey, I'm falling on my sword here. This is what we did wrong. This is how we plan to, rectify the situation, and this is what you can expect going forward. And that means everything. I mean, I feel the closer relationship to the clients that have had some negative experience in the process, because we've been able to overcome that obstacle, and we've actually, we have some solid ground there.
Yeah, it's not that you want something negative to happen, but rebuilding that trust and showing that you are an advocate for them and solving it really does strengthen a relationship more than just everything's fine, everything's okay, a birthday acknowledgement along the way, like on a Facebook page. That's great, but you stood up for them and you solved it, and now they could be friends for life. And in addition to being a customer for a long time period.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you really have had a very interesting career, obviously starting in the Navy, which is phenomenal and really helpful that you were able to serve our country, but also learn a lot of life lessons that you were able to implement into sales and building yourself as a salesperson, as a sales leader. Is there one thing that you're most proud of in your career?
One thing I'm most proud of. Gosh, that's a tough one. I'm going to fall back to what I said before, because it's honestly not just the most rewarding, but it's the thing that I'm most thankful for, and it's the relationships that I've been able to create. I mean, again, those relationships are the relationships that get you through the valleys, shall we say. There's peaks and valleys throughout the career, and when you have more people to rely on in your network to, bounce ideas off of, and to, have a shoulder to cry on, someone that you can obviously, relate to. I think that makes it all worth it. And being able to, have those long-term relationships built, because you're building a true relationship. It's not just a sale. That to me is the most rewarding, and obviously the greatest achievement I think that I can, stand behind.
I think that's well said, and really something that everyone should strive to within their relationships they create in their sales careers. Well, this really was fantastic. I really like there's a lot more that I can dive into with AI in general, but everything else that you've done. But Kevin, I thank you so much for joining us and for sharing these stories and experiences from your career, and sharing some of your leadership talents with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me, Howard. Appreciate it.
And thank you all for joining us as well. It really is, it's amazing how your career can grow in different ways, the experiences you have, the lessons that you learn. Making 500 phone calls a week is a great accomplishment for a salesperson. But a day is unbelievable. That's something I will definitely not forget throughout the rest of my career, and think of Kevin each time. But it's it's great to have that growth, but also it's really great to focus on your customers along the way and building those relationships, whether it's a customer or a someone on your sales team is incredibly valuable, not just to you and not just the company, but to them as well, because it becomes a two-way street, and really develops a trust that can really help with any type of conversation moving forward. So keep that in mind. Go out, have a great rest of today, and we will see you next time.
That's a wrap for this episode of Sales Momentum. I hope you picked up valuable insights to fuel your sales success. If you're ready to take your sales game even further, visit howardwolpoffswc.com for coaching, resources, and more strategies to help you close more deals and build lasting momentum. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and keep pushing forward. Until next time, keep selling with confidence.